all the commentary channels, they're all doing their tour of like, IDubbbz is a sellout, it's lame. And Charlie did the light version of that, where he's like, I don't think it was that bad. I think it's totally fine to say the N-word. That's not what he said.
It's not what he said.
But like, in a sense, it is what he was saying.
But
because he's like...
That's the problem, though, when you're not clear, though, about that. When you're like, well, those videos weren't that bad. Okay, so let me interpret. What do you mean by that? You mean that what he did wasn't wrong?
Right.
You mean that I can say it?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't leave that room when on topics like this.
That's right. Charlie goes, it's not that bad. You didn't need to apologize. And it seems like he even meant like by today's standard, it's fine. I think Charlie was just still trying to say Ian was just being too hard on himself.
Well,
I think at certain points he was being too hard on himself, but I think Charlie was trying to toss a bone to the haters. I really do. That's the way I saw it. Because he's got to hedge his bets. I just think he just tossing a bone. I don't know what to tell you guys. That's my opinion.
There was a larger audience that IDubbbz was apologizing to. Like, yeah, maybe he was too hard on himself at some points. You could say that, but the apology wasn't just meant for you. There was a lot bigger of a community that he was apologizing to.
Well, I think it's funny too that Charlie goes, you didn't need to apologize, as if he's the representative of like all black people who you know, felt the consequence of a bunch of
He's
kids.
the spokesman.
Yeah, it's like, well, you're not
You're
the
not who the
target,
apology
the
is
recipient of
for.
this.
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly.
Like, just, you know, so, but, and of course, this is all stuff I've done, right? I don't want to make any mistakes about it. I've done all this dumb shit, all this racist, sexist, fucking horrible shit.
You've also had the reckoning that Ian is going through right now.
I've had the reckoning.
Will come.
It's painful. And frankly, there's nothing really to gain from it other than personal growth. The reckoning we went through was one of the worst times of my life, psychologically.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It was so painful. And it was like I was in like just a mental...
Lowest of the low.
It was just a battleground in my mind. Yeah, just low times. But when you come through on the other end, you know who you are, and your fans know who you are. And now I've never been more honest. I've never been more authentic. And the fans that watch, they like me for who I am,
right?
Who I really am. And I can say what the fuck I mean always. And I don't have to do what like Charlie and Boogie's doing, where I don't have to like say it all the way.
You have to cater to some people, so you got to worry about how you phrase yourself.
100%, exactly. And so, like the first time that we got like massively fucked is when I dared to criticize PewDiePie for the N-word thing. That was like such a shitstorm.
People were mad about that.
It's the nuclear word.
Such a shitstorm. That was kind of like the whole spiral down into that. But, you know,
part of that shitstorm was because that you criticized him before that reckoning had really taken place. And it kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but that sort of was the beginning of you sort of trying to reanalyze like who is in my audience, who am I catering to, who am I making content for? And because, you know, your past racist remarks and stuff like that, that was the criticism, is like, oh, you do this.
It's
you
hard,
know what I mean?
you know, it's yeah, exactly.
Right.
And that's fair, right?
Right.
That was
Because-
fair at the time.
Yeah, because you start to think like, oh, but the context was different.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you go, well, I'm not racist. But then you think and you're like, well, you can do racist things. You can say racist things. And it doesn't necessarily make you a hateful racist person. But
it's
let's
still,
just be honest, you know.
They're
It's hard.
rooted in racism.
It's hard to be honest with yourself with something like that, you know. It's painful. But the truth is that when I criticized PewDiePie, and I did think it was wrong what he did, and I was being authentic to myself, everybody was like, well, you said it, so who the fuck are you? Nobody was mad that I said the N-word. They were mad that I criticized PewDiePie.
Right.
Yeah. At first, my reaction was to be defensive, right? But then over time, you let the walls down and you let the truth in. So yeah, he's dealing with the reckoning and the same he has the fallen fans that I have now. You know what I mean? And I just feel bad because for them too. I mean, you know, growth is good. Maturation is good.
Yeah.
Who can really tell me like, oh, maturing means saying the N-word more? Like who's gonna make that argument? So let me pull up this Charlie video. Or actually, no, I don't need to pull up the Charlie video. But I just wanted to say that he's like the biggest voice in the community, commentary community right now. So what he says is consequential. And basically his take, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, to kind of try to distill it, was that he doesn't think the content was that bad and he didn't need to apologize.
He does qualify it by saying he puts it in the time frame of like it's 2016, everybody was making content like that, and he even says you can feel like it wasn't okay then, and that's a separate conversation, and you can feel that way. But the vast majority of people watching YouTube didn't have a problem with it back then, and IDubbbz says it went beyond being edgy, it was cruel, and Charlie disagrees with that. He doesn't really think it was cruel. And
or
he doesn't
problematic,
really need to apologize,
which is weird.
I mean, the thing is that Ian knows best what the reaction was to his videos. So if he says that it was cruel and bad, this is based on his behavior or his interaction with people, his experience. He's the one that's gonna know best.
Yeah,
I think he did think it was problematic. It was just, I don't think it was his place to talk about the degree at which it was problematic or the degree at which the apology, you know, it wasn't meant for him, like I said.
Guys, this...
And frankly, I mean, I
was about to break into my crit.
I frankly disagree that with him saying it wasn't cruel. I mean, at least in the example of the Tana one. I mean...
That was the point.
Right.
That was the point. It was cruel.
Yeah. I mean, she was a young girl, and this was this guy in his mid to late 20s, and what he did to her was pretty fucked up. And I think acknowledging that and apologizing for it is totally fine and within
it's
his
cool,
right.
yeah. And Tana's a good person. She's not, you know, I mean, like we've all done dumb shit. So, you know, she was so young at the time. I mean, she's so young.
It's hard to forget how young
18?
she was.
Was she probably 18 at the time of his content comp?
Maybe even younger.
And she just made like one tweet at him about how I don't like your use of the N-word. And then he turned it into this whole odyssey about fucking ruining her life. And at the time, we all thought it was funny and awesome and shit. But, like, yeah, I think it's cool that he's apologized to her. And clearly, her reaction on Twitter shows how much it did affect her.
She told us when she came on the show. I mean, you could tell that she was... it fucked her up, that whole thing.
Yeah. Dude, she was on the receiving end of so much fucking hate. You can't even imagine. Because I don't know how many views that video had, but tens of millions, certainly.
Yeah.
So,
as a teenage girl, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
That's rough.
She was 19, I believe, at the time.
Yeah, she's still so young. It's crazy. But I think it's great and valid, you know. But there it is. Guys, this was about as offensive as a hot dog with just mustard and no ketchup. I mean, it was pretty offensive, but, like, not that offensive. You could still eat the hot dog. You don't need to return it or throw it out. It was like that.
That being said, he is my boy because I met him, and that's all that I need to.
Oh, you guys are dogs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You guys are like best friends, basically.
Yeah.
You met him that one time?
I'll name drop that for the rest of my life.
This comment is exactly how I feel. Peanut Butter and Fika said, Charlie makes the same mistake Ian is trying to apologize for. Consideration of people on the receiving end of Ian's views. He's worrying about the fans' reaction to his reaction.
Right.
Yes.
You know. Guys, today I'm going to talk about Ian's apology, which is about as spot on as when I take a shit on the wall at a bullseye and it triples down onto another little rat trap, and then the rat comes and tries to eat the feces. Anyone else? You got a good one, Dan.
I will never apologize for any of my content.
Oh my God,
I would
that's kinda
seriously
good.
rather
Yeah,
take
it's
a
really good.
pipe cleaner, and instead of it being
If
nice
I'm not
little
looking at
soft
you-
bristles, it would be like razor wire, and I would take that pipe cleaner, I'd stick it up my nose and scrape
really
the
sounds
inside of my
like him.
nostril so hard that it combines into one nostril, just like a cokehead, and then it's just bleeding, and I'm just breathing in and out blood nonstop. Sorry if I interrupted you, Eva. Once I get going on those.
Today, guys, I'm going to watch Ian's apology, which is about as pleasant as a cactus being shoved up my ass. And then I paint a picture with the blood coming from my anus and call it art. Let's see. Have I fully flushed this out? I don't want to leave anything unsaid.
One thing Charlie was saying in his video that I agree with to an extent is that I hope he feels like he can just move on and start making the content that he wants to make now. Because that was one aspect of what Charlie was saying when he was saying, oh, he doesn't need to apologize. If you want to make different content, that's great, and go ahead and just do it, but you don't need to apologize for your old content. I don't agree with that half of it.
Well, he doesn't need to apologize, but like he wants to.
Right, I get it.
Because he's going through something important for his, it's like, it's so, okay, whatever.
Right. But I do hope that Ian feels that, you know, he can actually,
But
he can stop addressing it.
He's
all
done.
The haters. Like,
Yeah,
I hope he can just be done with those people and just understand he's not going to win them back over, and that's fine.
Yeah, he's done. He can move on now. It's funny because Ian's content before all the edgy shit, he was like, people loved his stuff where it was just like gross food reviews. And there was nothing problematic about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, sewer pickles. I did one with him about the chicken. And we did one about like, I forget what it was, where we were wrestling and shit. It's been so long. But there it is.